Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. Today on the bench here we have one that's been requested by quite a few viewers, or a variant of it anyway. This is a Savage Model 24. This particular version is a 24S like in Sierra, -E like in Echo, the 24S-E. So there have been so many versions of the Model 24 and so many different variations and caliber combinations, caliber and gauge combinations, that we could literally do hours of content on just this model family and probably not cover it all. So I guess what we'll do is, as we get different variations in, we can spend a little time diving in specifically to that variation. One challenge is that on these older Savage product, there's sometimes just not a whole lot out there other than what has been researched by collectors and then published within the collector forum and sometimes on the internet. So they can be a little challenging to get a lot of detailed information on some of these variants, and it can be a little challenging to work on the guns as well because not all the parts play nice together. There's some parts interchangeability between 24s, then other simply don't, and we'll talk about that in just a second with this gun. But this is a 24S-E. So the Model 24 really started as a Stevens product. Remember, Stevens became a Savage brand a long time ago. And in 1938, they brought it out simply as a Stevens 22-410, combination with a 22 long rifle barrel on top of a 410 shotgun barrel. So that came out in 1938 and rocked along till about 1950 when it was introduced under the Savage, the main Savage line, as the Model 24. The gun had walnut stocks to begin with. Then during the 40s, there were a time period when they were available with the tenite plastic stocks, and after the war, they went back to wood. So there's, again, just tons and tons of different variations of that. So this is a 24S. The S signifies this side lever opening. The rest of the Model 24s have a traditional top lever opening like you would attribute to any other break open type shotgun, but this one has the side lever. And this particular gun, the 22S series, came out in 1964. About that same time in the Savage 94 line, or the Stevens 94 line of single shot shotguns, they also went to a side lever to simplify some production and manufacturing techniques. So during that time period, Savage, along with every other manufacturer in the 60s, was trying to reduce manufacturing costs and maintain a reasonable retail price for their consumer. So they made those changes in this gun, or introduced this gun, and they went to the hardwood stocks with the walnut finish. So this particular gun was made in 1967. How would we know that? No serial number on the gun. Prior to 1969, or at some point in late 1968, October of 68 is when the Gun Control Act went into effect. So prior to that time, this gun was typically not serialized by Savage. So dating them on the rifle shotguns and the double shotguns is done by finding the date code that is typically stamped on the 24s. They'll be on the barrel. There is a, let's clear this gun while we're picking it up. So we push this down stiff. Open it up, make sure there's nothing in the chamber, so we're good. So on this left side of this barrel right here, there's an oval with a 2-digit number followed by a letter. The 2-digit number basically no longer has any meaning because that would be an individual inspector number. And as far as I know, that data is just lost to time. But the letter from 1948 to 1968, that letter will give you the year of manufacture. And this particular one is U as in uniform, which would put this gun in 1967. So I believe we have a 67 catalog page, and we'll put it up there and we can see what the variants of this gun were offered. In 1967, they had the 24D, which is a deluxe version, top lever, walnut stocks, checkered, nice looking gun. And I think you'll see a very depressingly low retail price listed in that catalog, somewhere in the 60s. $60 range. And then this gun, I believe, was around $54. A little plainer gun, designed as an economy gun and billed as a combination or all-around hunting gun at a reasonable price is how it was billed by Savage. So with this gun, you have the .22 long rifle top barrel. So obviously, being a single shot, no issues with shooting .22 long rifle, .22 long, .22 short, .22 long rifle shot cartridges will also work out of this gun. And then you have a 410 bore shotgun barrel on the bottom. The barrels are 24 inches long. The shotgun barrel is full choke on this gun. Now, it was also available .22 long rifle over 20 gauge. And it was also available with a .22 Magnum, .22 Winchester Magnum rimfire top barrel over 410 and over 20 gauge. So that would be the 24 MS-E in either 410 or 20 gauge for the shotgun barrel with a .22 Magnum top barrel. So we do have grooves on this top barrel here to accommodate a typical dovetail type .22 scope mount, and there is some question out there in the user field about whether you should actually scope this gun and then fire the shotgun barrel. And at one point, Savage actually put out some literature that you probably shouldn't do that, because at that time the typical scope that you would see mounted to a .22 long rifle was one of those really cruddy 3/4 inch, like looking through a soda straw scopes with very flimsy scope mounts, and especially in 20 gauge, probably wouldn't deal with that very well. And the eye relief, the eye box and the eye relief of that scope was so small you'd have to creep up on it, and you'd probably wear that scope if you weren't careful in 20 gauge for sure. So, but that's left up to you. The scope grooves are there. If you can get a sturdy enough mount, maybe so. So there were several versions of the 24, as we talked about. So the original ones had the selector. This is the barrel selector on this gun right here. This lever on the top of the hammer, and this one's kind of stiff because it's been probably sitting in a closet for years. So that would fire the bottom barrel, that would fire the top barrel. And it's similar to the Model 242 shotgun we had in here the other day, the over and under 410, same type of selector, same hammer. The difference is this receiver is more in tune with the side lever single shot shotguns that Savage had at the time, the Model 940, 944, 947. Similar receiver profile, similar paint type finish, side lever. The stocks, in fact, interchange. The trigger bracket on the inside interchanges. There's quite a bit of parts interchangeability between the 940 series of shotgun and the 24S combination gun. And then again, there are some that aren't, like the hammer, for example, because it has the selector in it. But no serial number, as we talked about. So there was several different versions of this. So they did the SA, the S-A, S-C, S-E, S-D. It would make sense for there to be an S-B. There's a lot of, I don't know that I've ever really heard of one or seen of one, but it would make sense that there is. But be that as it may, there are other versions of the 24 still available during that time. The 24D was out there, walnut stocks, top lever, checkered, and then the 24V like in Victor. Now the difference with the 24V built as a Varmint gun was a centerfire barrel, the top barrel was centerfire, 222 Remington typically on the top barrel. Now over the course of production, the 24 had shotgun barrels available in 410, 20, and 12 gauges. I don't know ever of a 16 gauge being done in this gun, or a 28 for sure in this gun, just 410, 20, and 12. But the centerfire barrels, they did quite a few different variations, 222, 30-30, 357 Magnum, 357 Remington Maximum, and probably some others, unlimited run. So it's quite a large collector field if you want to start looking at Savage 24s, because there are so many different sub-variants of the model and so many different caliber and gauge combinations that you could amass quite a decent collection. So this 24S was 1964 through 1972. And in fact, we don't see this gun in the 1972 catalog. In the 1972 catalog, Savage introduces what they call the new 24 field grade, which is the hardwood stocks again, but we've moved this lever back to the top. So they ditched the side lever in 72 throughout the rest of their product line. So we went back to a top lever gun in the 24 field grade. Otherwise, with that exception, it looks very close to this gun. And in fact, in the 72 catalog, we hear about the new top lever opening. So they went back. It wasn't really new. It was just returned. So value. How do you evaluate one of these guns? We go back to the three things we always talk about is scarcity, originality, and condition, right? So the 24 as a family is not particularly scarce. The 24S, 64 through 72, it's only an 8-year product run, but it was an economy gun to begin with, so that kind of balances itself out. So these are not the uber expensive Savage 24s, which you would find in a deluxe model or a centerfire rifle barrel model, or any of the truly rare variations like the camper guns, things of that nature, can really bring quite a bit of money. But still, these are starting to bring respectable money, and they're not $100, $150 guns anymore. So originality is the other issue. Refinishing this gun, I mean, this is paint to begin with. So if that were repainted correctly, it'd be almost impossible to tell. You could tell the bluing if that had been reblued fairly easily because of the washed out letters, but we don't have that on this gun. And then we're confident that this is original stain and finish on this gun. There's a few little bumps. I mean, you would expect that, but the gun was probably hunted for however many years. But let's look at some of the mechanical things to look at on this gun. Let's open it back up. So you have two extractors here, 1 and 2. They're spring loaded, and they're designed to pull the cartridge out when the gun is open. They don't really eject the cartridge out. But those guys are held in there. This one's held in by a pin, and this one's held in with a screw right here. So we have a screw holding that in there, and on the 2 firing pins are held in with little tiny screws right here in the side of the receiver. So what you would want to do is with the action open, you're going to want to check that you have firing pin protrusion in both barrels. It's maybe difficult how stiff this is. There we go. So we want to make sure we have firing pin protrusion on both barrels. To pull the firing pins to change them, you have to pull the gun apart. You have to get these screws out of here. Very, very small screws. Easy to strip those screw heads out. So be very cautious with doing that and assume that they're rusted in place. Then again, it's just bore condition and things of that nature. But this gun is in actually really nice condition for what it was designed to do and how it was designed to be used. So we're pretty comfortable with that. So where we see these guns trading, and the way I evaluate it is I look on some of the major auction sites of what these guns have actually sold for to get an idea, as opposed to what people are asking, which can be two very different things. But these guns are selling in this condition in that $450 to $550 range. So way more than the $54 it was retailed at in 1967 for sure, but I think everything's more expensive than that now. So the Savage 24, and we're going to continue to bring you different variants of the Savage 24 as we get a hold of them, particularly the earlier guns when we find them. So if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell to get notified when we put new video up. We try to do that every week. If there's something you want us to take a look at, shoot us a email or shoot us a message in the comments, and we'll be happy to try to find one and get it out there for you. So thanks again for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.